Welcome, my dear gaming friends. I apologize big time for how late this is actually showing up to your sub feeds, but it is finally time to take a look at a tier list for the previous set in JP or next month's set for you guys in Global. So normally I manage to get these out before the month rolls over, but as most of you know, and you can probably judge by the background over here, I was really busy moving throughout all of April. I moved on April 20th, 21st, around that time. But everything, like literally the 2 weeks before that, was all just prep. Like it was all prep, getting ready for the move. And so I didn't really have time to make content in general. So I just kind of like did what I could, made what I could with the time that I had. But unfortunately, that also meant that I couldn't get out some of the staples. And especially on the zero front, we are definitely kind of like lagging behind right now. But that changes today. We're going to take a look at everything. We're going to take a look at the meta. Now, unfortunately, because I was that busy with the move, I also didn't really have as much time to play zero itself. So this month around, like, a lot of my takes will be based on the little experience that I had playing in this month's meta, but also a lot of just what I've heard from people talking as well. I've been able to meet some of the zero players here in Japan as well and be able to talk about the meta too, so it's going to be kind of shaped by those sort of thoughts that I've been hearing. So apologies, it's going to be a little bit scuffed if I say something that is very much off. I apologize. April was just a very hellish month for me, so please understand. Also, I want to take this moment to thank the YouTube channel members that always come through and support the content as well, especially during this time where, money's just flying away as I'm, moving and settling down and like rebuying a bunch of stuff. You guys' support really means a lot. And also, if you are a channel member, make sure you check the YouTube community page every so often, because I will be putting up some things to try and get y'all involved a little bit, as well as get your opinions on some things for upcoming content, so you definitely don't want to miss that. Anyway, huge thank you to Crown Clown, Very Florist, Platinum Wolf 2009, Christian, Kairos Darkblade, Carrie Barger, Arcana Master, Tristan H, Martinez67, Michael Lockett, The Real ZBD, Stogan, Impact Monster, KSGG, Chris Branham, Mr. Turkey, Zach S, Coolio Ash, Blue Eyes White Tofu, and Cardinal Joker for supporting the content, supporting the channel, and where I'm trying to take it to. So I really do appreciate you guys' support very much. With that being said though, let's pick up from where we left off. So this is going to be the first tier list. Ooh, we even got a little chat popped up over here. Let's get rid of that real quick. There we go. This is going to be the first tier list we take a look at from here in Japan. And so when you see me looking in this direction, I actually have a second monitor over here, so very nice. So this is basically the tier list that we had last set. And so we're going to first kind of rebalance the looks of things from the previous meta, and then we're going to take things into account on the newer decks and new additions. But of course, a lot of the decks already placed in this tier list got support in this last set too. So I guess let's try to take apart things that we need to, just really change all of a sudden. Like I think the top here, like Asha, Night Rose, Altmile, are all staying up here. I think, honestly, Bermuda, it might be time to knock them down a peg. The meta is really starting to speed up a lot, and the disruptive clans are getting better at disruption, and the aggressive clans are getting better at being aggressive and combo heavy. So I feel like Bermuda is starting to slowly fall off a little bit. That being said, we got a lot of new Bermuda support in this latest set that just came out in JP, so we're going to see how that changes things for sure. Celestial's kind of the same thing for me as well. It seems like they've become quite slow. Even though they're still very good, but I've seen that the general consensus is that the deck just doesn't really have what it takes to also like win before the super aggressive decks can like go crazy. And also like, compared to this, it's also just a bit of a tough battle too. Tavas, I guess we can also knock it down a peg. I feel like it's kind of up at the top here as well. I know quite a few people already for a while were asking me to knock it down a peg, so there you go. I think the deck is still really strong and it pops off pretty hard, but a lot of decks are able to do that, and you have better combo decks up here as well, in my opinion. And besides them getting support, I think they're just kind of still at the same place. They get future support as well. Blade Master, in my opinion, does shoot up a fair bit because Blade Master Titan is really good. That stride is amazing. It's become kind of like a new 4 of, taking the place of the GR from set 1, the Mustafa, so that really just kind of like came in and took its place. Has a really good effect. Like you also have a lot of really good support for Blade Master in the set. Like you have continuous countercharging every single turn. You have really good power gain across your rears, like even more countercharge than before. I almost want to put it like around here, but I think for now we'll keep Blade Master at the top of these like top decks because it's just got really good support, like just amazing support in the set too. Gear Chronicle, I don't know. It feels like I've been playing Gear Chronicle a lot from this specific set, from the Time Leap wave, and it's just kind of disappointing because the deck has really good kill potential if your opponent's at 5. Like, if your opponent's at 5 and you're able to, like, start doing timely combos, you're gonna melt through their hand or you're gonna win on that turn. But the problem is getting there. Like, you basically have to, like, first try Fate Rider and, like, try to push somehow to 5, and if you fail to do that, then you're gonna try to, like, Ragnar Clock them, get a PG out, swing twice so they're at 5, and then if they heal down, then you're back at square one. You have to, like, go into a next stage or something, or, like, try to do something with the Metallica Phoenix and pray they don't hit a defensive. Like, the deck just feels like it doesn't have exactly what it needs to win, or, like, it has what it needs to win, but it struggles to get there. And if your opponent heals down from 5 to 4, it's just like, damn it, like, all my hard effort just got wasted. So honestly speaking, I'll keep it here for now because the things under it don't really, like, outperform in my opinion, but man, Timely just doesn't feel as good. Vanquisher got some pretty good support. I think I'll put a Vanquisher somewhere around, like, here, I guess? Like, Vanquisher basically got a good GR and some good other, like, some decent generic other support that I don't think I would necessarily say it's, like, insane. But it just has, like, pretty nice matchups against everything but this, because this has resists everywhere and huge power, which this deck can actually manage to get huge power. That's not necessarily an issue. But I feel like against a lot of other things, the little bit of support that Vank got is actually quite nice. Silverthorns, I think, are still pretty decent. Like, we talk about this every time. It's, like, cool combo deck that has good execution, but definitely does feel like it falls off against certain matchups. And especially now, like, this deck cannot hit the numbers that you need to get over Asha's columns, so I think it does kind of, like, knock it down a peg. So probably gonna put it, I don't know, like, when I look at the other things in this column, it doesn't necessarily, like, get outweighed by Gavriel or Harry, right? So we can keep it there for now. Gavriel's, like, if we're strictly talking about Gavriel, the new support is not very good. Like, it's... I kind of want to knock her down to here. Like, you're basically just going through Deck Out Simulator, and it's not really a great time. Again, I wish to be proven wrong. She's one of my favorite, like, literally my favorite units of all time. And I want Gavriel to be better, but sadly the new support is very much just like Deck Out City. It's the same issues as Gavriel had in the first wave, but magnitude 10. And it's really not great. Like, it's a bit of a shame, to be honest. Harry kind of has a similar issues of, like, still being deck out central, but having, like, the same ability to, like, just go crazy in terms of kill turns as Night Rose does. It's just that you have the issue of course, you know, decking yourself out because you have to soul charge a bunch of times when you don't even want to. Revengers are kind of in the same spot, I would say. Like, these decks haven't really shifted as much. Link Joker, I feel like Link Joker's position might be shifting a little bit, because decks, like in this meta, you still had 8 card G-Zone, and a lot of decks started to, like, cut out their, like, you know, their Messiah slot to fight the Link Joker matchup. So because of that, it kind of depends. Like, I feel like this deck kind of goes up and down a little bit in the meta depending on what people are playing. So I kind of want to put it up a little bit, but just a little bit. The Legend focus, I think the deck is still pretty good. It's just about here. Brawlers are still decent, but not played as much. And now, technically their Asha matchup should be pretty decent, because you can actually, your Legion power / Stride power actually hits over their big numbers, and it doesn't care about resist. So Brawlers could actually be something pretty potent. Metalborgs, I think you're kind of, like, you're in this meta of, like, because again, for me, it's like, if you can't pass these columns, and this is a very common deck on ladder, I'm sure you guys in Global know too, you're gonna kind of struggle here, I think. So it's like, unless you're playing like a, you know, 3-deck, one ban tournament where you can ban out the Asha and then, like, you know, fight with Metalborgs, you know, I think for the ladder experience, this might be a little bit tough, so I feel like I want to knock it down over here too. The end is kind of, like, the end is still fine, but I feel like out of the Kagero decks, it's the one that's least strong, just because, like, Blademaster is super good right now. The Legend has a cool, like, engine around him, and, you know, like, the Nahalem, like, Tar package and stuff like that. Whereas the end is just kind of, like, it got nerfed with, like, the discard cost, and then it just doesn't really have as much going for itself. Like you basically don't have much of a reason to play the end over this or this, unless you have a huge attachment to the deck, or, like, you really want to play a Legion deck, but even then you're playing Legions in these decks, so it's not like that really changes too much either. So I think we can keep, like, it is still pretty competitive, but I kind of want to put it up at the top of viable, to be honest. I might be a bit more harsh to decks this time around. I think the meta is also shifting very much around these 3, like, /4. Alright, moving along down the line, blue waves are still kind of here. I think they're still decent. Diablo had support, which again is decent. The leaders got changed a lot, and they're again like pretty decent. But again, that was like from previous set. And I feel like, you know, the chrono jet points I'm making as well are like from the previous set. So I think beforehand I talked about this as like Dudleys, as like, or like talked about this in terms of like spikes as spikes. But I think I'm gonna actually, like, to avoid confusion, I will put this away and put in Rising. I think again, don't really see it much, and you know, it's like, it's kind of in this slot of like underrepresented, but I feel like it should be good. Like, the combo parts seem to exist, and I feel like it should be pretty decent. Everything else here, like, I think is either staying in here or kind of going down to struggle. So like, Yasui isn't, like, the deck is still fine, but again, you're starting to struggle to hit numbers against certain decks. D-Robos are awfully gimmicky. Victor freaking got his legs chopped off by the lack of support in this most recent clan event and everything being an on-hit. Although, to be honest, like, it's probably still viable, but honestly towards the lower end of it. Sanctuary Guard I've seen getting results here and there. So like, these decks you'll still see in ladder, you'll still see them around. Bugs as well are obviously going to get much better soon with the recent clan event. And then Claret's just kind of there as well. Fenrir as well is just, I think, kind of falling down into the struggle, because at this point, like, you're like, there's just less and less going for it compared to the other decks that are existing in this meta. So I think that's kind of like the viable, like, a lot of the viable stuff stays within the viable tier. Like, I think you can still bring them to ladder and you'll still do fine, just like with most decks. But like, it increasingly gets harder depending on how low you go on this ranking. But then, of course, you know, we didn't talk about Susano. Susano, I think, is decent. Like, there's been some OTT decks popping up here and there after like the second wave of the clan event, and I'm not sure if I would really say if it's a struggle. I'm not sure if I would really say like this deck isn't even viable. I think it does have some viability, but just does a lot less than other decks, and that's kind of the issue. Now, Mr. Gurgud, however, I think he kind of shot up to here. Like, Mr. Gurgud got really good support. You finally have a finisher stride in Glorious Reigning because you can actually make hella attacks. You have so many extenders, like, thanks to stuff like Quill. You have the spirits that pop stuff on the sides. Like, you have suddenly the Gurgud stride that lets you kind of like push your opponent suddenly to 5 to actually enable the kill turn for next stride. And like, you have these ways to set up like back row intercepts. They have like 3 interceptors in one turn. Like, Gurgud has a lot going for itself right now. Like, you have so many things that you can put into the deck, like so many different angles you can take, whether you want to like go for heavier resist, or whether you want to go for heavier, like, you know, like cycling with like in soul draw effects and stuff like that. Like, Gurgud, I think, is really decent. I think Gurgud is really, really good, so I'm rating it very high, and I think that that's the general consensus as well. And I've been playing around the deck a fair bit myself too, so it's like, that's kind of coming from my own experience as well. So then we have Mr. Sharot, and Mr. Sharot, I think I expected it to be really good because it has a really nice stride pool. It has the ability to actually avoid decking out, but it's a little bit risky still. But it feels like, from what I've heard, because I really don't run into the deck on ladder that much, and when I do, it doesn't really feel that hard to play against. Plus, from what I hear people using the deck, it feels like it's still kind of lacking something, and like, it still has these issues that's like kind of similar to Harry, where it's like, where's Harry? So like, Harry, you know, like, has cool kill turns, a lot of tools available, like huge OTK push, but decks out because of just the default of having to be a soul charge deck. And I think that, from what I've heard, Sharot is kind of similar. So I think this definitely needs more testing, but I do want to place it somewhere and not just like put it in here and be like, whoop, I don't know. So I'll start playing with it too, because I did pull the majority of the GRs, even though I wasn't aiming for DI at all. But you know, this is something that I expected to be at least decent. And, you know, like, looking at this category, I kind of feel like we need to reshuffle this a little bit. I think Blade Master does deserve to be kind of like up here, but like to the bottom of the best decks. And Gurgud, I think, definitely is like really shining bright at the highly competitive. And then finally, we have Mr. Gallop, and Gallop got some really good support in this set. I mean, not just support, he launched in the clan event and ended up being a pretty good one, but you don't really see it. Like, in ladder, nobody really plays it. I myself am an idiot, and I like reset my stamina to get 4 GRs, and then forgot to get my triple rares, so I'm still grinding materials for like a month now in order to actually craft all the triple rares and double rares and stuff. So it'll still take me a little bit to finish crafting this deck, but for the time being, I think it's like, I don't know, it's hard to put it. I think the deck has a lot of potential, but not that many people play it, and it's, I don't know, it's kind of the usual DP problem where it's like, it doesn't plus as much as other decks, it doesn't have these like unfair tools that some other decks get access to, you know, it's like 20k intercept and all that kind of stuff, but you have resists, you have draw power, you have huge power, and like, you know, like 5 card, like 5 attack, you know, combos with Excalibur. So I feel like the deck is either like up here or up here. So let me know in the comments where you think Gallop should be placed, because I myself have not been able to play with it yet because I'm still grinding for the freaking triples. But it should be done soon. Should be done soon. So yeah, this tier list might be all over the place simply because I feel like I just didn't have the time to really dedicate to give my in-depth analysis on the meta as well. Because we've also been away from this meta now for, you know, over a week now, so things have definitely changed. We also have like 12 card G-Zones, so things have really shifted quite a bit over these, you know, this last week and a half, basically. So let me know in the comments what you guys think, those of you JP players, what you thought of the meta for the previous set, and also what you think things will be like for Global as well, having looked at the way I rank things. Again, as usual, this is my perspective on the meta based on what I play and based on what I talk about, as I spoke about in the start of the video. So I appreciate your understanding, especially with how things were for me in April. But so I'll work hard this month in May to catch up on everything from the previous sets and try to like stay on top of things once again, because, you know, these first 2 weeks in Japan I've definitely been very busy with like setting up and like moving in and like doing a lot of paperwork and things like that all over the place. So luckily I've basically done everything now over these last 2 weeks, so we should start getting back on track of things with YouTube as well, starting from this week as well. So yeah, that is going to be basically it. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I hope you liked the video. If you did, please give it a like, and if you haven't already, please do subscribe, as we're getting closer and closer to 50k, and I cannot stop asking for this, but I really need y'all's support. If you have some friends that enjoy the content, they're not subbed, you know, maybe you're at the card shop chilling, you see the subscribe button isn't checked, you know, maybe go like, hey, DF is trying to reach 50k, try to help him get there. All right, I appreciate it. We're all in this together. So anyway, that's gonna be it for me today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.